Alright, BCA-101, and this is Friday after we had the snow day, so that would be 1/27/17, and this is day 5 of the class. We started out, people finished up the section on change. We would have talked about that on Wednesday where we had a snow day. What we did was we talked about how we learn in this class and how that might be different. And we used the concept of change to talk about that. Talk about the students doing most of the work instead of me just telling them everything they need to know in order to encourage learning. And we talked about how important change was, and we used the Google example of how their number one thing when they look for an employee is cognitive ability, that ability to think, so to speak. And in the article they talked about the value in being able to change and see other ways to approach things. I think see the, a wider view of the world. And then we talked about, I talked about students. We have some students that are very grade driven. Not that that's bad, but they're so grade driven that they may not focus on the knowledge that they're learning. Or some, all they worry about is getting the tasks done instead of focusing on what they're learning. So I think the key is to be knowledge driven and let the other two take care of themselves. If you're really focused on gaining something from the course, that will cause you to make sure you get things done, and the grades should take care of themselves. So for example, I talked about the assignments in the course. The students have the option to do the assignments in order to learn the material. And we discussed that briefly in class. All the advantages to having that autonomy in a course, and we'll talk more about that later on. Alright, then we also talked about the outline, how important it is to watch the video and then look up the terms and reference them and make sure you read the information as you fill it in. This also relates possibly to a change in how you've learned before. It really helps. Rather than having a whole book, we can read just what we need. And students talked about, the problem with maybe some students not having access to the internet and or your access not being good. That can be an issue. There are a lot of advantages to getting your material digitally, up to date, just what you need, and so forth. But also you have to be careful, because if you're grabbing just bits of the information, you may not get the whole picture if you're not reading the whole document. We're going to talk more about all these concepts here in the near future. We did a little bit of work during the day. We talked about web browsers, how important they are in terms of gathering information from the internet. You're sitting out here and you pull that information from another site. The information's not in the internet, it's at another website, and we use browsers to manage that. In the work that you did for the class, we use Google a lot, and those features were in the assignment. And in there, I also talked about students said, well, they couldn't text me because of this or that. You could get a Google number for free, and then you'd be able to text from your computer, or actually from your phone. And that wouldn't be any extra cost. And if you're curious how that works, we can cover that more specifically as we move along. We finished up the day. There's a software company in town, just happens to be run by my son, and he was at PAX South this last weekend. And there's PAX East and West, but this is a Penny Arcade Expo the one out west was where it started and is the biggest. And he's starting his own company. It has to do with technology, so we talked about here's this company and here's the game he's going to be releasing here in the spring. And he got invited to PAX in San Antonio to demo his game. And so that was an honor. He got greenlit. Greenlit on Steam recently, and then somebody from PAX contacted him and said they'd like, he's an independent game developer, they'd like him in their up and rising booth area. So that was fun for him. And that is it for today. And I'll keep you up to speed on this. If you're a gamer and you're interested, we'll keep you up to speed when that's getting closer to release right here.